Back in that bag again. Whoa, yeah. Back in that.
Hey, welcome to the Splash City Basketball Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Hartman. Thanks for joining. Thanks for listening. Follow on Instagram, follow on Facebook. Feel free to check out any of the videos on YouTube. Today's episode is full of college basketball talk. It was a huge night in college basketball last night. A lot of great games, a lot of great performances. I do want to cover a little bit of everything today as well. So I'll briefly talk about the Timberwolves win over Miami, 3-game winning streak. Big week ahead, 2 against Cleveland, finishing Sunday against the Spurs. And then I got a fun segment on college basketball today. We'll talk about the biggest surprises, the biggest disappointments, and my latest college basketball top 10 list. And then the show will wrap with a look at the high school basketball scene, roundup of some of the key games last night, a few surprises, some of the biggest teams in the state of Minnesota, some of the top-ranked teams go down. So we'll finish with that discussion. But again, as always, appreciate you listening. And with that, let's get into it. All right, I want to start with the Timberwolves. Last night, they took care of business against the Miami Heat. That's 2 of their last 3 games have come in wins against Miami, sandwiched with a Washington Wizards win as well. The thing about the Wolves game last night specifically that I want to talk about is Rudy Gobert. And I know we've talked ad nauseum about Rudy and his impact on the game. But I thought last night was one of the more noticeable games that you see his impact. Challenged by Bam Adebayo. Bam had said that Rudy couldn't guard him. Well, guess what? Bam scores 7 points. Rudy gets 16 rebounds. 2 blocks, looks phenomenal. And now the Wolves are a game and a half out of second with a date with the Spurs on Sunday, who is currently in second place. So the Wolves are kind of, they lose games, right? Like that's the Wolves for the last few years. They will lose a game. The thing is, everybody in the NBA does that. They will lose games they're not supposed to. It's 82 games. I actually am starting to reconcile with that. I've become okay with every once in a while losing a game that maybe you shouldn't, just because it's hard to stay locked in for 82 games. But what you see in the NBA is that's why they play series, right? And that's why the Wolves do have this ability to kind of turn it on as needed. And in the playoffs, they have done that the last 2 years. I would prefer they not, right? Like we'd all love if they would just play as well as they possibly can on any given night. But, when they hit some adversity, when they don't play well, they call it out in the locker room, they own it, and they come back. And now 3 games in a row, they've pretty much dominated 3 teams. The Miami Heat will likely be a playoff team or a play-in team, at least in the East. They were fully healthy last night. Tyler Hero was back. Bam played. Wiggins was in. Stan Drew Wiggins, as my buddies Tyler and Tate like to call him. But yeah, Rudy just, I think he does so many good things offensively and defensively. When they can get him engaged on the offensive end a little bit, it does get him going. It gets the team going. Jaden McDaniels had another strong night last night. And so all in all, a great win. Now they go back-to-back against the Cavs. 6th seed currently in the East. Should be an interesting matchup. You got Donovan Mitchell. You got Evan Mobley on the inside. Kind of a similar player to Bam, can stretch the floor, athletic, defensive-minded player. So, I think those 2 games will be interesting. And then Sunday night, I teased this on Instagram, but Sunday night I'll be doing post-game breakdown with Andrew Dukowitz of Zone Coverage on the Missing Wolves podcast. So I'll tweet out or send out some social media announcements about that, where you can find that listen. So if you're watching the Wolves Sunday against the Spurs and want to break it down post-game, there's comments and chat that go on during his post-game. So really excited. Big week for the Wolves. I mean, this is a kind of a big month for them. Historically, November, December, you're kind of playing things out. And then this is the time of year that we've seen them make a move. Last year, we had some injuries to DiVincenzo. We had some injuries to Julius Randle. And then they came out of that late January, February, and really turned it on. So this would be a good time to make a move, I think, if you're the Timberwolves. No Jokic for a month. Um, Spurs look a little bit vulnerable. I won't even say the Thunder look vulnerable yet, but they've lost obviously. I think they're 6-6 in their last 12. So there's some hay to be made here. There's some ground to make up. The Wolves could get up in that 2-3 seed conversation if they could even create a little separation. Then your margin of error goes down. It'd be great to host a first round series, I think. Although they've also proven that it doesn't really matter to them, they can win on the road in the playoffs as well. But I'm sure the organization wants those home games in the playoffs. So this next couple of weeks, big stretch this week for the Wolves. They have looked really strong, even against inferior opponents. They've looked very good the last couple of games. Ant got going immediately last night. Jaden attacking the rim. So, yeah, good stretch. Be curious to see where the Wolves go this week with back-to-back against Cleveland. Sunday night, San Antonio Spurs. There was so much action in college basketball last night. I previewed it in the morning on Instagram and Facebook, and you just felt like that slate of games last night had something. And college basketball always delivers. There's always going to be a game or two that you don't expect to be close. That are. Let's start in the Big Ten. Michigan at Penn State. Really surprised by this result. No Mingo for Penn State, their star freshman. So you're thinking Michigan's going to continue to win by 30. However, it comes down to the last possession. Penn State hangs around. Unfortunately for Penn State, they put together one of the worst end of game possessions I've ever seen. Barely get a shot off. It's a 28-foot fadeaway, jacked up shot. They didn't get any action. Yaxel Lendenborg was on the ball and kind of forced the shot further out probably than they wanted, but it's definitely not what Mike Rhodes wanted in that last possession. So Michigan escapes, but looking vulnerable. Does that affect how I rank them in my top 10 this week? I'll reveal that top 10 here in a minute. Next up, Houston, Texas Tech, outstanding game. I thought this was going into it going to be an awesome battle. Christian Anderson was fantastic for Texas Tech all year long. Houston's guards are horrible to play against. They are relentless. And then you had JT Toppin going against JoJo Tugler in the middle for Houston. And this game lived up to its billing as well. The difference in this game is Kingston Flemings rising up the draft boards, freshman for Houston, made big shots all night. So tough, so good. I mean, he's starting to enter that conversation, I think, with the Darren Peterson, AJ DeBanza, Cam Boozer. He's probably in the next level below those guys for now, but last night was kind of his breakout game, and he looked phenomenal. I was telling my son as we're watching this game, if you want to watch defense and rotations, and the reason Houston, I believe, is so good defensively is because that is a non-negotiable in that program. There is no easy baskets. They are, I mentioned relentless. That's the term because literally they chase the ball. Every shot gets contested. Every rebound is theirs. They rotate. There was a play last night where Texas Tech had swung the ball. They got it to JT Toppin on a short roll. He attacks, and the wing from the opposite side comes flying in and blocks the shot. They are so good defensively. Love that team. So Houston comes away with a 4-point win against Texas Tech. Other game in the Big 12, Kansas. Thought they were dead. They were down, I think it was like 14 with 4 minutes to go or something like this. TCU gives the game away. Kansas comes back. Darren Peterson played 32 minutes, scored 32 points, comes out late in the game, asked to be taken out. That whole situation's a mess. But when he plays, he looks like the best player in college basketball. So if Kansas can get that figured out, they're a contender in the Big 12. If not, man, most of that game, they didn't look very good. Again, down 14 at home to TCU. Probably shouldn't happen. Kansas somehow gets it within 3. Darren Peterson's in the game, comes back in the game for this one play. Okay, we run a ball screen. They foul him on the shot. He makes all 3 free throws. Very difficult to do, by the way, especially for a freshman. Makes all 3 free throws. Then he actually gets TCU throws the inbound out of bounds the other end, so it wasn't touched. So Kansas gets the ball on their side of the court, on their sideline or a baseline under their hoop, and they get a halfway decent shot for Peterson. He misses. So we go to OT. Peterson doesn't play a minute in overtime, and Council takes over for Kansas and looks like Michael Jordan when Peterson's not in the game. Kansas wins 104-100. Crazy stuff. Crazy choke job by TCU. Crazy win for the Jayhawks. Elsewhere, Florida hosting Georgia. Florida needed this win badly, and they got it. So they got a nice double-digit win against Georgia. Georgia looks like they're probably going to be a tournament team. We'll see how the rest of the season goes, but they're ranked right now. But Florida's guards, still a struggle. I don't trust them a whole lot. We'll talk about that as well later in my surprises and disappointments in college basketball. Another one from the SEC, Auburn, Texas A&M. If you didn't catch this, check out the highlights of this. Auburn hits a half-court shot to win the game. They're down 2. They hit a half-court shot. It's reviewed, and they take it away. Texas A&M escapes with a 2-point win in Auburn. Fans throwing stuff on the court. Stephen Pearl's losing his mind. Just a crazy, crazy ending. And lastly, I want to finish with Minnesota. Minnesota beats Iowa at home. Really entertaining game. Gophers actually had a 14-point lead. Iowa goes on a 20-5 run late to take a 1-point lead. They get Bennett Sturtz going a little bit. This Howard kid for Iowa, really impressive, really fun to watch. Plays really hard, does a lot of little things. The Gophers kept going to their size, so Iowa started taking away some of their backdoor action, some of their stuff they like to do out top. So Minnesota counters with a post-up game. So they get Langston Reynolds down low. They get Crocker Johnson on a post-up. Cade Tyson, because they got a little bit more size than Iowa. So what does Iowa counter with? They start double teaming from the backside, going at the Gophers where they can't see them, getting a couple turnovers and steals, which led to this 20-5 run. What I loved is Ben McCollum calls timeout for Iowa. They're up 1, I believe. And Nico uses that moment. Nico Medved, coach of the Gophers, uses that moment to say, we're going to run the same post-up action, except now we know the double's coming, we're kicking out. And what happens? Reynolds gets a post-up in the mid-post. Double starts coming. As soon as the double gets there, he turns, finds Crocker Johnson open at the top of the key. Crocker Johnson had missed the last couple three-pointers. Courage takes it, drills it. Gophers go up 2. Make it just enough foul shots. By the way, that last possession, Iowa probably should have tied the game. Multiple good looks, not just looks at threes, but good looks. Bennett Sturtz with a wide open 3 after a good shot fake. Gets 2 to Gophers to go by him. Misses a wide open 3 at the buzzer. Gophers win 70-67. Gophers are now 3-1 in the Big Ten. All right, my last segment on college basketball this week is the college basketball top 10. This week I have just a couple changes to my top 10. I'm actually going to move Arizona into the top spot, strictly because of Michigan looking less than stellar at Penn State last night. Arizona plays tonight against Kansas State at home. Fully expect them to take care of business there, but it's conference season, so you never know. But for now, I feel like Michigan and Arizona, Arizona's number 1 in most of the AP polls. Michigan's number 1 in my poll the last couple of weeks. So I'm just going to flip them just based on that one game. Again, this is kind of a, you could take your pick with these two. They've been so dominant this year. 3 through 6 don't change for me. I got UConn. They've continued to win. Iowa State opens their Big 12 season tonight. Purdue has continued to win since their lone loss to the Cyclones. And then I have Duke at 6. Duke wins last night fairly impressively at Louisville, except for Louisville didn't have their star freshman point guard, Mikal Brown Jr. So, but I will say Duke looked much more aggressive and impressive in that second half. So I have them 6. Houston at 7. Houston, again, like I said earlier, really impressive late against Texas Tech. Kingston Flemings continues to come into his own to go with Emmanuel Sharp, Milos Uzan. Houston looks awesome. Number 8, I got BYU. No reason to change them. They haven't lost yet. Big 12 plays getting ramped up. We'll see if they can continue to hold that spot. We got 4 teams in the Big 12 here in the top 10. And then at number 9, Nebraska. I finally had to put them in. They've earned it, beating Michigan State. Then they go on the road and win at Ohio State. Got to put the Cornhuskers in the top 10. And then I rounded out with Gonzaga at number 10. Gonzaga, I dropped them a little bit. They didn't look great against Seattle. They were down 15 points in the second half. Came back to win in overtime. Not impressed with that performance at all. They did bounce back with a big win against Loyola Marymount, but I still think Gonzaga has a few kinks to work out. And, we'll see how they do when they match up against the St. Mary's, Santa Clara, even San Francisco. A little bit tougher competition in the West Coast Conference for them. Vanderbilt, like I said earlier, Vanderbilt beats Alabama tonight. I got to probably put them in next week into the poll. But for now, Vanderbilt's on the outside looking in. So that's my top 10 college basketball poll, January 7th, 2026. All right, for today's final segment, I'm going to talk a little bit about the high school basketball roundup. It was a wild night, Tuesday night, in Minnesota boys basketball. There was a lot of great games. Number 10 Hopkins defeats number 3 Maple Grove. In Hopkins, Kenny Novak Jr. wins his 1,000th game. Huge accomplishment. That's a ton of games to coach, man. Between he and his dad, I think they have over 80 years of coaching experience. So 80 years of Novaks at Hopkins High School. Maple Grove, I think that's their 3rd loss on the season now. They were number 3. The 4A poll outside of Wayzata has a lot of movement and a lot of moving pieces, and I'll get to more of that in a second. Talking about Wayzata, number 1, playing number 7 Buffalo. Easy win for the Trojans. They're just too much right now in most of their games, but they're just continuing to be impressive. Hoping to get out to see them here in one of their games soon. I feel a little bit like there's a jinx going on with the Splash City Basketball Podcast here. I brought on Kevin McKenzie, head coach at Egan, a couple weeks ago. Egan was undefeated. They lose last night to previously winless Shakopee. Very surprising result there. Shakopee goes on the road. Now, Shakopee's had some close games. They played within 15 points of Wayzata. They've lost a couple games by 4 or 5 points, so they've been really close and really competitive. Maybe a sign of the Sabres are improving a little bit, but still a surprising result. Another jinx, so to speak, I had number 1 in 2A, Belle Plaine Tigers as my team of the week in 2A. They go down last night to St. Peter. Now, St. Peter is a 3A school, road game for Belle Plaine. Probably not too much to worry about. St. Peter's played a pretty tough schedule. And like I said, they're a class above Belle Plaine. But add those two on to the fact that the first team of the week I had in Class A was Rothsay Tigers, and they went out and lost the 2 games after that. So I hope I'm not jinxing y'all by talking about you, talking with you, giving you some love. Just keep on playing. I don't truly believe in jinxes, but I do feel bad that I'm that this is happening right after I talk about you. Anyway, that being said, Thursday night, I'm recording this Wednesday, January 7th. Thursday night, going to see Cretin-Durham Hall hosting East Ridge. Cretin-Durham Hall has junior Ty Schlegel going to Nebraska, senior JoJo Mitchell going to St. Thomas. East Ridge has a stud sophomore to go along with Cedric Tomes, point guard, going to Minnesota. Tomes dropping a 50-piece last week, so really excited to see that. That's usually a huge Suburban East matchup. Oftentimes decides the conference champion between those 2 schools. So should be a fun one in St. Paul tomorrow night, and I'll have pictures and video to share on social when I get back from that one. But should be a fun week. A lot of action. I talked about some girls basketball games last night too. I said to look out for this Class A matchup between Breckenridge and West Central. Very intense rivalry. Breckenridge takes care of business in that one. a few too many turnovers for the West Central area night, so that was a bummer. And then the other school, kind of close to my heart, Morris area, Chicago, Alberta. Morris area, Chicago, Alberta could be the number one team in 2A with Bell playing losing. Morris took care of Minnewaska last night pretty handily. So outside of that, there wasn't a ton of real shocking games, but there were enough last night. It was an interesting night for sure, and more interesting nights ahead. So I always encourage you to get out, support your local schools, go watch some high school basketball, boys, girls. It's all good. We have great high school basketball in the state of Minnesota. All right, that's my show today. Again, appreciate you listening, taking the time out of your day. I can't tell you how grateful I am for everyone that's downloaded an episode and listened, and especially those who come back and listen to as many episodes as they can get to. Approaching 500 total downloads. So again, super cool. I'm glad people are enjoying it. I've had some great guests. I've built some great relationships over the years. So I appreciate all those that have come on and helped tell their story and talk about their experiences with the game of basketball. And I'll continue to do that. Again, if you have thoughts or ideas, things you want to discuss, things you think I should talk more about, I'm happy to hear that. I know I need to get more girls basketball, women's basketball content on here, so I'm working on something there. Hopefully soon I'll get some discussion for the NDSU side of things as they take on St. Thomas in a few weeks. But I do want to lastly plug Sunday night Timberwolves post-game show with Andrew Dukowitz, the Missing Wolves podcast. Andrew Dukowitz from Zone Coverage will have me on, and we'll just chat about the Wolves game against the Spurs. It should be a great one. Big-time showdown between two of the best teams in the West, so it should be great. If you get time, leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Leave a comment on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you want to listen and watch the videos. But again, thank you so much. This has been the Splash City Basketball Podcast.
Back in that bag again. Whoa, yeah.